If we can get a shot of you in the pool, that would be greatly appreciated.
They need to prove it's not a fluke.
There's no two ways about it. The Packers weren't a great team.
I think Aiden Hutchinson will outperform Micah Parsons.
What? Bom dia, and welcome to the Early Hours podcast. Guys, I have been in Sao Paulo for less than 12 hours now, and I'm already picking up the local dialect. I'm really excited to be on the ground here. I'm also excited for two things. I've got two bev checks with me at the moment. I've got the world's smallest Coca-Cola in a bottle. We're talking 200 ml. They love the small size there. I've also got myself an iced latte because I still haven't found where to get a coffee this morning. But loads to talk about. The NFL, it kicks off this week. This is what we wait for all year round. And look, we'll get on to the Chiefs Chargers in Sao Paulo, which is obviously what I'm here for, a little later on in the show. But look, let's start off with the opening game of the week one regular season, and that is the Cowboys versus the Super Bowl champions, the Eagles. Guys, who have you got, and what are the biggest talking points?
I think, obviously it's really interesting. I'm sure something we'll come on to a little bit later. Micah Parsons has moved on. But looking at the Super Bowl champions, I guess they're obviously the favourites to go ahead and get the victory. Jalen Hurts back again for another year at the head of the Eagles, and I think everyone's eyes are probably going to be on Saquon Barkley to see if he can do it again. He's just been named the NFL's top player, which I think there's a couple of question marks, but it's a fair thing to say. I would suggest
it is, and they are firing on all cylinders. It's not just in the backfield. They have. They've been confirmed today. AJ Brown expected to start, was battling a bit of an injury, but back firing alongside his wide receiver too, DeMonta Smith. They are ready to go for two. They really are. But I just wanted to focus on Dak a little bit as well. It's a really interesting sort of QB battle. Obviously, divisional rivals. Just reading the stats this morning, I wasn't aware, but Dak is actually 9-4 in his career matchups against the Eagles, which, you know what? Backing up my point about that offense, could they shock the world? Could they open the NFL season by beating the reigning Super Bowl champions? That would be unbelievable.
Not a chance. You know what? It's been constant weeks on this podcast where you're banging the Dallas Cowboy drums, and I just can't take it anymore. I really can't. The breaking news over the last week as well was obviously Micah Parsons. He has moved on. What sort of hole does that leave in the Cowboys' defense, and can the Eagles capitalize on that?
A massive hole. It cannot be understated. They've obviously acquired Kenny Clark as part of the trade deal, and they've got that draft collateral for future years. But where does it leave them this year? Well, it probably leaves them quite vulnerable in that position. How are they going to get to the quarterback? How is their pass rush going to look? They have made some extensions across the board with the money that they've saved from Parsons, extending Bland, their corner, a crucial corner as well for that team. But yeah, it leaves them probably quite vulnerable, and they're in a very tough division. Let's not forget the Giants have strengthened, albeit probably still finishing at the bottom of the division if we're realistic. But Commanders and Eagles in there as well. It is not an easy position to be in to sneak into the playoffs in the NFC East.
Loads to play for in that game. Both sides of the ball will need to come out firing strong if they want to look confident going into the rest of the season. Moving on to Chiefs Chargers. So boys, yeah, fortunately I tried to get into the hotel rooftop pool to record this podcast with a lovely backdrop of Sao Paulo. Sadly, the Wi-Fi didn't quite stretch there, so confined to the hotel room here. But I will stick up some pictures of the local scenes and atmosphere around Sao Paulo now. Really, really enjoying it and looking forward to the game tomorrow between the Chiefs Chargers. What are you expecting from that game? And who's going to come out on top?
Well, firstly, if we can get a shot of you in the pool, that would be greatly appreciated because what an amazing thing, man.
I've actually not brought my swimming trunks. I wasn't aware there was a pool.
That's what we're all about here, is just doing the unthinkable, the unimaginable. But yeah, what a game. What a game. Matt, what's your thoughts on it?
I think you'd have to go with the Chiefs. Yeah. Obviously, we've not really seen much of Justin Herbert in pre-season, but probably expecting them to be more of the same this year, if I'm honest. And I just think the Chiefs need a better start to what they've had. Obviously, the pre-season need to bounce back from the Super Bowl last year. I think Andy Reid's going to have them firing. If they do slip to a defeat, then again, there's more questions asked, and I don't think they can afford to have that from the fan base.
I'll tell you what's also at play here. It's actually the first divisional game on international soil since 2007. So there's loads to play for here, loads of questions being asked. I think it's actually, there's more at stake with this game than it is actually the first game of the season with the Cowboys-Eagles that we touched upon as well. So that is quite wild. And I tell you what, also, that's really great for the international games, because it just proves that the game is growing. And if we can have these sort of matchups away from where they're normally played in the States, I think that just proves that what Roger's doing is working.
Yeah, absolutely. And the games are selling out. So for this to be a divisional matchup on South American soil really sort of really tells you that the fan base are traveling with the game growing, that they're moving with the times. So it'll be really interesting. But I think it's intentional that they've put the first ever divisional matchup in the international series on South American soil. They've not quite made it the full move to England or Ireland yet, let's say. But no, and just a quick point on this game, just to play devil's advocate. Justin Herbert is actually 1-4 against Mahomes, so I actually wouldn't be surprised if we do see a Chargers win. It starts their season really strong. There is question marks then around the Chiefs. I think it could be a bit of a curveball. I think this could be the year that he turns that stat around and really puts his money where his mouth is to open the season.
Yeah, 100%. It is going to be an amazing game. I'll bring you more through the socials on the ground through this week. So watch out for that. But no, another thing we've talked about on this podcast all the way through the off season is the question marks around the Chiefs' offense, and is anybody past it? The injuries, the suspension. So, like you say, I think the Chargers have actually got a really, really good shot here. Let's not focus on those two headline games. Let's actually open our branch up now to the rest of the games in week one. There is so many tasty matchups. It's actually hard to pick a favourite here, but Smells, if you had to pick a favourite, if you only had to watch one game or two games this weekend, what would you choose?
So yeah, I've identified two that I'm personally really looking forward to. I'll go with the first one first, which is, I think, probably the headline, being the Bills-Ravens. Obviously, I think these are probably the two favourites to take the AFC this year, if not maybe, two of the three with the Chiefs, probably you'd have to say. They've played quite a few times over the last couple of years. Ravens leading 7-4 in the regular season. However, the Bills lead 2-0 in the playoffs, and that showed last year. The Ravens crushed the Bills 35-10 last year in the regular season, with then the Bills edging them out 27-25 in the playoffs. Obviously, the infamous Mark Andrews dropped 2-point conversion, which was, obviously after his down year with Likely coming through.
I'm still surprised, by the way, he's still at the Ravens, Andrews. I'm actually still surprised they kept him on the side.
I think it's interesting to see if he stays on being tight end one this year, or whether Isaiah Likely will come through. I think that really depends on, I guess, who's fit and who's firing in practice. I think it could be quite a nice, two-pronged attack over there. I think obviously the main thing though is the quarterback duel. You've got the two most recent MVPs, both capable of great game-breaking plays, both statistically in the top 2 or 3 favourites to win MVP this year as well, I think, alongside Joe Burrow. So really, really interesting, see whose defence matches up as well. So Joey Bosa's back fit, and saying that he's fit, they've got Maxwell Hairston is on IR, their first round pick. He's also got with a legal battle as well. So they've got to stand up to the Ravens' strong run game. So that's anyone's game. I think I'm sort of teetering as to who I think is going to win. But at the minute, I'm going to say Ravens. When I was doing the prep, I would have said Bills. So yeah, we'll see.
I'll go on the flip side of that. I'm going to go with the Bills for that game. I love that fixture. I think it is exactly what the NFL needs in week one. I think there is a whole host of divisional matchups, but actually that one stands out as a sort of AFC Titan clash. It really is two of the biggest teams fighting to start their season right, but also set out a path to maximising their opportunity in the playoffs, possibly even fighting for that number one seed spot as well, the two of them. So it'll be incredible to watch. I'm going to go with a game that perhaps doesn't include as many superstars, shall we say, although there is still a host of sort of players that could get them into the playoffs. I'm going to go with the Steelers-Jets. And the reason I'm going for this is because mainly the QB battle. I think it's really interesting that they've swapped QBs. Aaron being with the Jets last year, Justin being with the Steelers, literally swapped completely different styles of play. Justin Fields could not be more it could not be more of a QB to try and evade the pocket. Aaron Rodgers absolutely comfortable sitting in the pocket, throwing it deep. Just looking at the sort of history of their rivalry in the lead up to the game, Steelers do lead the series 19-7, averaging around 22, 23 points per game to a Jets 13. But yeah, things have definitely got spicy with the QB swaps. There's been a lot of big extensions over the offseason, both defensively and offensively. Players coming in, players coming out. Steelers trying to put themselves in a real win now situation. So that's really interesting. And yeah, on the flip side of that, Jets have won 3 of the last 5 games, which is super interesting considering that when the Steelers are at home, they like to dominate the rivalry. So yeah, that's going to be an absolute stormer to watch. And actually, I really don't know who comes out on top. I'll go with Aaron for now, but yeah, let's see.
Yeah, love those picks. My money's on the Steelers as well. I think Rodgers at the helm, if he's fit any day, he's just got that experience, and I do think the Steelers are. I think they're a more capable side there. Smells, what your second game you alluded to?
Yeah, so I'm going again, maybe a little bit left field. I'm going Commanders Giants. Another great game, another divisional matchup. It's sort of divisional Sunday, isn't it, really? Obviously, the Commanders, I think, shocked most people last year, going 12-5, reaching the NFC Championship game. They need to prove it's not a fluke. Obviously, Jaden Daniels needs to prove that he can do it for a sophomore year, which isn't always that simple. They play a Giants team who went 3-14. However, they've added some good bits. They've got Russell Wilson, got Jameis Winston. They're going to stabilise the QB room. Obviously, we've spoke a lot about Jackson Dart, who's waiting in the wings. So it looks like Jaden Daniels against Russell Wilson. Opposite ends of the career. Jaden Daniels coming into this season as a top 5 MVP candidate. Russell Wilson's a 10 times Pro Bowl player and an ex-Super Bowl champion, so that's super interesting. They've also got an issue, the Commanders, with Terry McLaurin. Obviously, he's back, which is great. He's coming off a holdout. He's had a very limited preseason, and he really struggled against the Giants last year. He managed just 41 yards in 2 games, so I think that's quite an interesting matchup for him. Can he break that duck? And yeah, I think it's an interesting game. It gives an idea of how good the Giants can be. We've all said they look really good. They've got a really, really, really tough schedule. So if they can beat the Commanders, I think you say, yeah, they're actually going to break the mold. But will it just prove to be a step too far to be really competitive this year? Even though we see a step forward, it could be tough.
This is one of those games that really, like you said, it gives us a good read on where the Giants are and what progress they've made in the offseason. This could definitely be one of those games that takes them from that sort of 4-13 team and gives them that extra sort of oomph. It gives them those 1 or 2 extra wins. They're going to be looking to certainly try and steal wins off the Commanders, and probably the divisional rival they'll be eyeing up the most is the Cowboys, to try and win possibly 1 or even 2 if they can go all the way. But yeah, I think it's a great game. I love week 1. It's just full of divisional matchups. So it really does just start you off with a bang, and it puts sort of fear into a lot of teams.
Yeah, definitely. The divisional matchups just keep on coming. There's one that we haven't particularly touched upon yet. I can only assume that's because, Oliver, it's your second game to watch. It's also my game of the week. The Lions-Packers is at Lambeau. We wait all year for a game like this, and now we've got Parsons, obviously, in our defence. That could completely change out how we perform as a catalyst. Who have you got? Hopefully it's the Packers.
Oh, listen, these are big games, right? These are the ones that look. There's no two ways about it. The Packers weren't a great team against divisional rivals last year. Just 1 of 6, and that came down to a single field goal at the end of the game. Lost our streak to the Bears. Had very poor performances across the board against the Lions and Vikings. Lions actually on a hot streak in Lambeau as well. Won their last 3. Wow, just reading that there. Jesus, the last 3. Yeah, this is not an easy fixture by any stretch, but there is some saving grace. Matt touched on it a few weeks ago, or a couple of episodes ago, I should say. A lot of changes in Detroit. A lot of changes in terms of their coaching staff, their scheme, how they're looking to play with the ball. Is there going to be more pressure on Goff? We're not just limited to Rashawn Gary on one side. Now we've got Micah Parsons running at this guy full pelt. So I think we'll have a really interesting sort of game. It's going to give us a really, really quick read on how this defense is going to play and how Jeff's going to incorporate him. And I hope to see Jared Goff under pressure, because let's be honest, when we've seen that man blitzed, he ain't good. So let's hope he throws it, and let's hope that McKinney can start the year off strong. with a couple of picks or even just a pick. But yeah, huge game.
My focus is actually on the other side of the ball for us, as is on the offense. I need to see Matty Golden doing well. I promised this podcast I'd be buying a Matty Golden shirt. That is still on. He has now changed his number to 0, which I think you've got to earn source like that, Matty. So 100%, you better be catching some balls is all I can say.
Yeah, to be fair, I think he will. I've got Matty Golden to lead the Packers in targets and yards in his NFL debut for sure. I think he's going to be a good outlet for you guys this year if he can stay fit. Obviously, could take a little bit of time to get up to speed. Obviously, you touched Jared Goff's 3-0 in Lambeau Field as a Lion, which is pretty crazy. Obviously, you've got to look at Gibbs and Montgomery as well. I think they could combine for 100 to 200 plus yards.
Definitely.
I've also got as a little bit of a side fun fact. Obviously, we kind of find out last week who my DPOY is this year. I think Aiden Hutchinson will outperform Micah Parsons. So that is interesting. What? I think so. You've got to remember, Micah Parsons isn't great against the run. Very, very good.
He's also battling
an
injury. The guy's getting jabbed pre-game,
This is where Gibbs and Montgomery are going to run wild. And I've got the Lions to struggle. I think it'll be a close game. I'm even potentially going to say the Packers win it. I think the Lions' run game could take them over the line.
Wow.
Yeah. Parsons, we know. Pete Parsons, we know. Obviously, technically a linebacker, but will definitely be very mobile in Hafley's scheme. I do think there is concerns, and Jerry made a very controversial comment the other day about the run game and how Parsons could be sort of leaky in that space. So yeah, you're probably playing one of the worst teams in the NFL for that. However, he could start strong. This could be a real turn of the tide for him. I do think it's fair to mention that he is battling an injury as well. He's talks of him, getting an injection before the game to be juiced up for it. But yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I still don't regret picking him up regardless. Those 2 first-round picks were just headlines. That's all they were. They were more or less second-round picks because of how late they were down the chain. I'd be 100% taking Parsons instead of someone at 28th or whatever. But no, yeah, Packers-Lions. It's one of those games that we think it's a game to watch throughout the season so much. We're actually going over to Detroit on Thanksgiving to watch the reverse side of the fixture in person. So that is going to be incredible. I can't wait for the matchup this week, and I also can't wait for the matchup around in late November for that. Boys, just to round out the episode really quickly, if you've got a pen and paper handy, I've got this lovely little notepad that I've just found in the hotel room. It's in Portuguese, so I'll be holding on to this all season. If you've got something handy, just write down 2 teams, your sensible Super Bowl predictions, and just keep it with you all season, and we'll reveal them in week 18, just before the playoffs, and see how right we were. I think that'd be really, really cool.
I have already written mine down.
You come prepared, have you?
Wow, that's crazy. Wow. That wasn't in the script.
Amazing. I love this because it's head versus heart, but no, what I've written down here is sensible. But we're not going to show you. We'll reveal it all towards the end of the regular season. But yeah, that is about it for this week of the Early Hours podcast. Remember, if you didn't know by this hotel room that you can't see outside, I am actually in Sao Paulo, so I'll be sharing a load of stuff on socials, and you'll see it throughout the episode as well. And I'll give you a review what that will be like on Monday after my red-eye flight. I can't wait for that one. But yeah, boys, football is back and I cannot be more excited. We'll see you next week for more Early Hours.